All right, ready to dive into the world of public procurement specialists.
Let's do it.
We've got a whole stack of resources for this one.
Career guides, interview questions.
Yeah, even some role catcher tricks to help you nail that interview.
Public procurement, well, it's kind of more important than people think.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's like the backbone, making sure organizations, especially governments, are getting the most bang for their buck.
Interesting.
It's all about strategic sourcing, those ironclad contracts, keeping everything ethically sound.
So not just buying office supplies, right? This is like making a real impact.
Exactly. These specialists are the unsung heroes of efficiency, making sure, especially with taxpayer money, that everything is spent wisely.
Wow, okay, I'm getting it now. So let's say I'm ready to jump into this world. Interviews can be tough. Where do we even begin?
Preparation. That's the key. Understanding what those interviewers are looking for, then tailoring your answers, to hit the mark.
Right.
Luckily, you've got a bunch of common interview questions in your research.
Oh, perfect. That's where we'll spend most of our time today.
Sounds good. Plus, we've got RoleCatcher. I hear its AI can help us make sense of those crazy job descriptions and, tailor our responses to sound perfect.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's start with those questions head on. First one up, a classic. Can you explain your experience with public procurement processes?
All right, so don't just list stuff from your resume. You got to think story time here.
Story time.
Yeah. Pick a project where you really made a difference, like where you found a way to save money or handled a tough negotiation like a pro.
Oh, I like that.
Walk them through the whole process. Show how you were a key player and what positive impact you made.
So don't be shy about showing off a bit, but back it up with specifics, right? Okay, but what if they hit you with a follow-up? What was the most challenging part of that process?
Ooh, good one. That's where you show them you can handle the heat. Be honest about the difficulties you faced, but always spin it positive.
Okay, spin it positive. Got it. Did you have to navigate some tricky regulations, maybe deal with different people who wanted different things?
Oh, yeah. Stakeholder stuff can be a nightmare.
Exactly. Explain how you got through those hurdles and what you learned along the way.
I like that, turning a potential weakness into something you learned from.
Exactly.
Okay, next question. How do you ensure compliance with procurement policies and regulations? It seems super important, especially for the government.
Absolutely. It's crucial.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, I follow the rules. You got to show them you understand the ins and outs of compliance.
Right.
Show them you're all about those ethical standards.
But give a real-life example.
Yeah. Like a time you caught something that could have been a violation, or maybe you set up a new system to make things more transparent.
Perfect.
You got to show them you're not just following the rules, you're a champion for doing things the right way.
Right.
And remember those certifications we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
Mentioning something like the CNETT or CPSM proves you're serious about ethical procurement.
Good point, yeah. Okay, let's move on to contracts. The next question is, can you describe your experience with contract management?
Ooh, contract time. This is where those negotiation skills really come in handy.
Right.
Just walk them through your experience handling contracts, from the easy ones to those that keep you up at night.
I feel that.
What were the main parts? How did you make sure everyone delivered what they promised? Were there any disagreements? And if so, how did you smooth things over?
So basically paint a picture of yourself as a negotiation ninja.
Exactly. Someone who can handle the pressure and come out on top.
But contracts can be confusing. Any advice on how to prep for questions about specific parts of a contract or all that legal stuff?
This is where RoleCatcher shines.
Oh, perfect.
Its AI can dissect sample contracts and flag those tricky parts that often trip people up.
So it's like having a legal expert by your side.
Exactly. You'll be ready for whatever they throw at you.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to the people side of things. The next question is, how do you manage stakeholder relationships during the procurement process?
Stakeholder management. This is where your people skills really come into play.
Right.
Procurement's a team sport. You got to highlight your communication skills and your ability to navigate all those different viewpoints.
Makes sense.
Share an example of a time when you successfully juggled the needs of your internal team, the suppliers, and maybe even the public.
Well, it's a lot of juggling.
It is. Did you use any specific tools or strategies to keep everyone on the same page?
So it's not just about getting the best deal. It's about making sure everyone feels heard.
Exactly.
What if they ask, have you ever been in a situation where the stakeholders wanted different things? How did you handle it?
That's a classic. It's your chance to show off your diplomacy skills.
Right.
Pick a situation where you had to be the mediator and explain how you found a solution that kept everyone happy.
It shows you can handle those tricky situations and keep everyone on board. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. It's not about giving a generic answer. It's about having a real story ready to go.
You got it. It shows them you've actually walked the walk.
Now let's talk numbers. The next question is, can you discuss your experience with cost analysis and budgeting?
All right, numbers time. In procurement, numbers are your best friend.
I can see that.
Talk about projects where you had to manage budgets, outlining how you analyzed costs and found potential savings. Did you use any specific tools or techniques? Were there any creative ways you stretched those resources?
So it's about proving you can be responsible with money, especially in the public sector. What if they ask about specific software or tools you've used?
Be ready to talk about any relevant software you're comfortable with, explaining how it helped you track expenses, forecast costs, and make reports. And if you're not familiar with something, they mention in the job description.
Don't panic.
Exactly. Use RoleCatcher's AI to research it beforehand and have a concise explanation ready.
Smart move. RoleCatcher. Always coming in clutch.
Yeah.
Okay, last question on the list. Can you discuss your experience with supplier relationship management?
Supplier relationships. Building strong relationships with suppliers is like the secret sauce of successful procurement.
I can see that.
Share an example of how you've built open communication, established trust, and worked effectively with suppliers. Have you ever had to deal with a conflict or a performance issue? How did you handle it?
So it's not just about squeezing them for the lowest price. It's about building partnerships.
Right. You want those long-term win-win situations.
Makes sense.
They might also ask, what's your approach to negotiating with suppliers? How do you ensure fairness and ethical outcomes for both sides?
That's a good one. They want to see that you're tough but fair.
Exactly. This is your chance to describe your negotiation style. Do you focus on collaboration and finding solutions that work for everyone? Do you have a good understanding of market dynamics and use that to your advantage? Be prepared to explain your approach and give concrete examples.
This deep dive into interview questions has been incredibly helpful. We've covered so much already.
I know, right? But there's more. In our next segment, we'll go deeper into specific strategies for crafting those killer answers and using RoleCatcher's AI to really stand out. Stay tuned. Back again. We just finished breaking down some common public procurement specialist interview questions.
I feel like I'm already getting ready to ace those interviews.
That's the spirit.
But before we go full-on practice mode, should we zoom out a bit? Look at the bigger picture?
Good point. It's easy to get lost in the details, but understanding the whole career path is crucial.
That's where that career guide we've got comes in.
Exactly.
It's not all the inside scoop on what these folks actually do day to day, right?
Absolutely. From the work environment to the skills and knowledge needed to thrive in this role, it's all in there.
Okay, so paint me a picture. What's it really like to be a public procurement specialist?
Think modern offices, usually tucked away in procurement departments.
Okay.
Big organizations or government bodies, that's where they usually are.
Got it.
You'll be surrounded by a team of experts working together on projects that really affect how resources are used, how money is spent.
So no hard hats or steel-toe boots required then?
Not quite, but it's not all just spreadsheets and contracts either. Sometimes these specialists travel to meet with suppliers.
Oh, okay.
They go to industry conferences or even present proposals to stakeholders. It's a dynamic kind of role. You need both analytical skills and a knack for dealing with people.
Speaking of people skills, the guide really emphasized that stakeholder management thing. What does that look like in real life?
Public procurement specialists are always interacting with a diverse group of people.
Oh, I bet.
Internal teams, suppliers, government agencies, even the public sometimes.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It is. You're like the central hub, making sure everyone's on the same page, managing expectations, and making sure everything's done by the book, ethically sound.
Sounds like you need to be a diplomat, assertive, and have a whole lot of patience.
You nailed it. Effective communication is absolutely essential. Being able to clearly explain your organization's needs, but also really listen to what others want, and of course, negotiate those win-win solutions.
And that ties back to those interview questions we talked about, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Showing those communication and negotiation skills through real stories, that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They want to know you can handle the tricky stuff that comes up in procurement.
So let's dive into the technical side. What about specific skills or knowledge that are like super important for someone who wants to get into this field?
The guide mentions a few key things.
Okay.
First, you got to have a good grasp of market trends, pricing, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
You need to be able to analyze data, do your research, and make decisions that bring the best value to your organization.
So it's not just about finding the cheapest option.
No, no, no. You're considering quality, reliability, even long-term costs. It's about the bigger picture. And in today's world, with technology moving so fast, you got to stay up to date.
Right. The guide mentioned something called e-tendering platforms. What are those exactly?
Oh, yeah. E-tendering platforms are online systems.
Okay.
They make the whole bidding and tendering process for public procurement a lot smoother. It's all online.
Oh, that's cool.
Makes communication between buyers and suppliers much more efficient, transparent, too.
So much easier than the old way, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
Any other tech advancements shaking things up in procurement?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Supplier databases are becoming more and more sophisticated. Organizations can manage tons of supplier information, track how well they're doing, even spot potential problems before they happen.
Wow, that's pretty high tech. What about artificial intelligence? The guide mentioned that briefly.
Oh, AI is changing the game in a big way.
Really?
It can analyze huge amounts of data,
Okay.
spot patterns and trends, automate tasks, even predict what people will need in the future. It's pretty incredible.
Sounds like it. So where can you go from there? What are some typical career paths for these specialists?
There are quite a few options.
That's good.
You could move up into management, become a procurement manager or director.
Yeah.
You'd be responsible for strategic planning, leading teams, that kind of thing. Or you could specialize in a certain area of procurement, like sustainability, risk management, even technology procurement.
So there's room for leadership and for becoming an expert in a specific niche.
Exactly. And don't forget about certifications. Earning a credential, something like the CPPP, CPSM, or CPPO, shows you're serious about your professional development. It gives you an edge in the job market.
I bet RoleCatcher can help with those career paths and certifications too.
You bet it can. Its Career Compass feature can walk you through different specializations, show you expected salaries, even highlight relevant certifications based on what you want to do.
It's like having a personal career advisor right there in your pocket.
Exactly.
This is all super helpful, but let's be real. No job is perfect. The guide did mention some challenges that public procurement specialists face.
Of course, no job is without its challenges. While this profession offers stability and a chance to make a real difference, it's not always easy.
Right.
Public procurement specialists are often under pressure to make good decisions quickly, all while dealing with complex regulations and ethical dilemmas.
So you need to be able to think on your feet, handle stress, and have a strong moral compass.
Exactly. And let's not forget about bureaucracy. Public procurement processes can be, well, complicated. Lots of approvals, which can sometimes be frustrating.
I bet patience and persistence are key in this role.
Absolutely. You need to be okay with working within established systems, but also be proactive, looking for ways to improve things. And when it comes to ethics, there's no room for shortcuts. Public procurement specialists are handling taxpayer money, so transparency and accountability are non-negotiable.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive into the career path has been really eye-opening. We've looked at what the job actually involves, the skills you need, and even some potential challenges.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI. It can help you customize your resume, practice your answers, and find employers who are actively looking for someone with your skills.
We've covered a ton, but there's one more crucial part of interview prep we need to talk about. Those behavioral questions.
Oh, yes.
Those can be tricky.
Stay tuned. We'll give you the tools and techniques to conquer those in our next segment. All right, we're back for the final part of our Public Procurement Specialist Deep Dive. We've talked about what the role is, the skills you need, tackled those general interview questions.
Now it's time for the big boss, the behavioral question.
Oh, those are the ones that make me nervous.
I know, they can seem a bit like a mind game, but don't worry.
Okay.
We've got the strategy to help you win.
Give it to me. What's the secret weapon?
It's called the STAR method.
STAR method. Okay.
Stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's like a blueprint for building great answers that really show off your skills and what you've done.
Okay. I'm following so far.
So let's say they hit me with a tough one. Like, tell me about a time you had to make a really tough decision in a procurement process. Where do I even start?
Start with setting the scene, the situation. Briefly explain the situation so that the interviewer gets the context.
Okay.
What was the project? What were the stakes?
Set the scene. Okay. Got it. What's next?
Then you explain the task. What was your responsibility in all of this? What were you supposed to achieve?
Okay, so make it clear what my role was in the whole thing. Then what?
Now comes the action. This is where you really get to shine. Explain what steps you took, what decisions you made, what challenges you overcame. Don't be vague. Give them details. Highlight the skills you used, whether it was analyzing things, negotiation, problem-solving, communication.
To really walk them through how I approach the whole thing. Show them, not just tell them.
Yes, exactly. And lastly, you wrap it up with the result. What happened because of what you did? Did you save the organization money? Did you avoid a risk? Deliver a project on time and within budget? Try to quantify your impact if you can.
Okay, it's like telling a mini story with a clear beginning, middle, and end, emphasizing my skills and what I achieved along the way. But how do I choose the right story for each question, especially when I've got tons of experiences?
That's where the real strategic thinking comes in. You need to carefully look at the job description and pick out those key skills and qualities they're looking for.
Okay.
Then, choose stories that really highlight those specific skills in action.
So it's like subtly proving that I'm the perfect person for the job without saying it directly.
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can be your secret weapon here. Its AI can analyze tons of interview questions and figure out what interviewers really want to hear. It can help you choose the best stories from your experience.
That's amazing. It's like having a personal coach to help me prep.
Right. Okay, let's practice another one. How about describe a time you had to deal with a difficult supplier?
Okay, bring it on.
All right, STAR method time. First, the situation. Maybe a supplier was always delivering late, not meeting quality standards, ignoring your emails. Paint a clear picture of the problem.
Okay, got it. Set the scene, then what?
Next, the task. What was your job in this mess? Were you supposed to fix a problem, find a new supplier, or renegotiate the contract?
Right, define the mission. Action time.
You got it. What did you do to fix it? Did you sit down face-to-face with them, set up a performance improvement plan, use your negotiation superpowers to get better terms, be specific, and show how you took charge?
And finally, the result. What was the outcome of all my hard work?
Did you save the day, repair the relationship, avoid losing money for the organization? Remember, numbers are your friends here. Quantify it if you can.
I'm starting to see how important it is to have specific examples ready. Just saying vague things won't work for these types of questions.
Absolutely not. All right, how about one that's really common in public procurement? Give an example of a time you had to make sure something was compliant with a really complex regulation.
Oh, I can already feel my brain sweating.
This one's a double whammy. It tests if you know the rules and if you can handle tricky situations. STAR method to the rescue, again.
Okay, so, situation first. I need to think about a time I had to deal with a tough regulation, right?
Exactly. Maybe you had to implement a new policy, make sure a contract clause was being followed, or maybe it was a tricky ethical situation. Briefly explain what was going on.
Got it. Then, the task. What did I have to do specifically to make sure things were compliant?
Right. Were you the one figuring out what the rule meant? Creating training materials? Setting up new procedures to get everyone on board?
Okay, action time. This is where I explain all the steps I took, right?
Yes. Be specific. Did you do a ton of research? Talk to the legal team, create a checklist, explain everything clearly to everyone involved.
And the result. What happened because of all that?
Did you avoid problems, penalties, improve the whole organization's compliance game? Did what you do help create a more ethical and transparent procurement process?
I'm realizing it's so important to have concrete examples ready. Vague answers just won't cut it.
Not at all. And remember, RoleCatcher can be your brainstorming buddy here. Its AI can look at your experiences and help you choose the best examples to showcase for each question.
RoleCatcher, my interview prep MVP. Okay, one last one before we wrap up. Tell me about a time you worked with a team to achieve a procurement goal.
Teamwork. This one's about showing off your collaboration skills. Think of a project where everyone had to pull together to succeed. What was the goal you were all working towards? What was your part in all of it?
Okay, set the scene and my role. What next?
Now focus on what you did to help the team reach its goal. Did you clearly explain your ideas? Listen to everyone else's thoughts. Help smooth over disagreements or solve tough problems.
So it's about showing that I can work well with others, not just on my own.
Exactly. And if you had a chance to lead in some way, don't be afraid to mention it. Did you take initiative? Mentor someone newer to the team. Keep everyone motivated and on track.
This deep dive into behavioral questions has been awesome. I feel so much better about handling these tough interview situations now.
Preparation is key. Use the STAR method like we talked about. Choose stories that really highlight what they're looking for in the job description, and let RoleCatcher's AI be your guide.
This whole deep dive has been incredibly helpful. We've looked at the public procurement specialist role from every angle, what they do, the skills they need, the challenges, and of course, how to ace those interviews.
Remember, preparation is everything. Use the resources we've talked about, practice your answers, and most importantly, believe in yourself.
And remember, RoleCatcher's got your back every step of the way, from customizing your resume to practicing interview answers, and even finding companies who are actively searching for someone just like you.
Good luck with your job hunt. We're sure you'll crush those interviews and land your dream job as a public procurement specialist.
That's it for this deep dive. See you next time.